Okay, so a mutualistic relationship. What does mutual mean? Okay, equal gets close. Mutual means both of you. So if you and your friend have a mutual affection, that means you like your friend likes you. So a mutual relationship is where both partners in the relationship benefit. So it's a cooperative relationship, both species benefit. And the real classic example that's always given of this is flowers and bees. So in that relationship, the bees get something really obvious. They get food. Bees go from flower to flower. They collect pollen. They take that pollen back to the hive, and they actually make honey out of it, which they feed the other bees, and they feed their babies. So remember, it's all about staying alive, having babies.
Last summer.
So if you have pine trees near your house and you walk out in the morning, and there's like this sort of yellowy powder all over them, have you ever seen that? Yeah. You know what that is? Tree sperm. So you can go in the house and say to your parents, the cars are all covered in sperm again. And after your parents pick themselves up off the floor, you can say, well, I mean, it's tree sperm. It's pollen. What, did I freak you out? If you're into that sort of thing, like making your parents pick themselves up off the floor. So, yeah, me too. I have allergies. I really don't like pollen. I'm not a big fan. So the bees take that pollen, though, and they make food out of it. The plant gets something, too, though. What are flowers all about? Do you remember? Sex. Flowers are just all about sex. Flowers are a big, fancy, showy, reproductive structure. So when you hand somebody a bunch of flowers, you're handing them a bunch of reproductive structures. Couldn't be much more direct. The plant needs that pollen, because it's sperm, to go to other flowers, but plants can't walk over to another plant and stick their pollen into another plant. But they can make themselves really attractive to bees, and those bees can get covered in pollen and then go to the next flower and fertilize the next flower. And that's how we get fruit. So they both get something out of it. Neither one could survive without the other. There are a lot of concerns because bees are in serious trouble in the U.S., and I think globally as well. We've got colony collapse disorder. We've got mites that attack bees that are a parasite. We've got some diseases that seem to be attacking bees. If bees disappeared, if honeybees disappeared today, would it affect you? Yeah, it would. Because most of the fruit crops, most of the things you consume, from tomatoes to peppers to almonds to zucchini to pumpkins or butternut squash, anything that's the product of a flower relies on a bee to make fruit. So yeah, if bees disappeared, would some of those flowering species disappear? Yeah, because they wouldn't be able to make fruit, which is their babies. So again, in some mutualistic relationships, if one of the partners disappears, then they both do. Ants and aphids is another classic example given. So you all know what an ant is. A little tiny bug. Aphids are even tinier little bugs. The brown insects you see here are the ants, and the little tiny green spots are actually the aphids. So they're an even smaller insect, and what aphids do, how they get their food is they have a little, it's like a drinking straw for a mouth, like a mosquito has, and the mosquito sticks it in you and sucks blood. Aphids stick their little drinking straw into plants and suck plant juices. That's how they make a living. Well, ants farm aphids. Did you know that ants could farm? Okay. So you know there are people who have herds of cattle, flocks of chickens. Ants have flocks of aphids. There are certain species of ants. And what does a farmer do for their flock of chickens? Protects them, makes sure they have ample space, makes sure that they've got a place to eat. If you've got your chickens on pasture, you make sure they've got nice pasture. Well, the ants protect the aphids. They protect them from predators. They make sure they herd them over to nice juicy plants every day. And the aphids suck juice. What do the ants get out of this? They milk them, yeah. I know, that's what it said. So aphids produce what's called honeydew. It's like sugar water, and it comes out these little tubes on their butt. Doesn't that sound delicious? And the ants lick the sugar water off the aphid butts. So just like a farmer might get eggs from chickens or milk from cows, the ants get honeydew from their little aphid flocks. Commensalism. It's a relationship where one species benefits and the other is not harmed. One of the classic examples we usually talk about is vultures and lions, or vultures and wolves. Lions kill and eat their prey. When they're done, vultures come pick the bones clean. The vultures benefit. There's no harm to the lions. Some commensal relationships may actually be mutualistic, but the benefits to the other species have not been identified yet. This was the type of relationships in the crash course video we watched. This is where he was talking about, whales and barnacles. Barnacles are these little crusty things that attach themselves to the skin of a whale. They benefit. They get a ride through the water where there's lots of food. We don't know that they harm the whale. We don't know that they help the whale. We think the whale is just kind of like, meh. That was his exact quote. That's a commensal relationship. These ones are the hardest to prove and document because it's really hard to prove that you're not getting some benefit out of it. So this is the one where I said if you can find one documented, well-documented commensal relationship with your species, I'll give you 1 bonus point for it. So with that, we've described the last 2 kinds of symbiotic relationships. I'm going to turn you loose. The rest of the time is yours to research. And these are due. They need to be submitted to me by the end of the period. You can submit them right through Classroom. You'll just resubmit your entire whole document that has everything on it. Okay?